everyone. It's Saturday afternoon, it's about 4 o'clock, and I thought I would just pick this walk up on my way home. We're at Heath Street and Yonge Street. And we're going to not walk up Yonge, rather we're going to walk along, I think it's Lawton Boulevard. And this is often the way I would, instead of walking up Yonge on my way home from downtown, I would often walk along this street. I think it's a cute little street. And it runs parallel to Yonge. Yeah, Lawton Boulevard is what it is. I put my last video just a few minutes ago, actually. I did Kazaloma, and then we walked east along St. Clair and concluded at Yonge and St. Clair. And then as I was approaching my walk home, I thought, why not show you guys this cute street? I really like it. I've always really liked it. There's a bachelor and a one-bedroom apartment available in this building. That's Oriole Garden. I just like these old apartment buildings. That one looked like it was about 4 stories. But I've been reading that everybody's leaving Dodge and heading to the burbs, and it's really been a big deal. These kids are riding in the middle of the road. And I've always liked these apartments too. Now these houses along here, they back onto the subway. So right behind them and just below them are the subway tracks. And I remember years ago thinking, boy, how disruptive that would be to live here, because you would hear all the noise from the subway. But you know, I find it very soothing, the sound of the subway. And I wouldn't mind at all living near the subway tracks. I wouldn't want to live near train tracks, you know, passenger trains, destination trains. But subway tracks are different, to me at least. I remember first going on a subway the very first time. Before I lived here, I came to visit a friend and we took the subway downtown. Never been on a subway before. And I remember being frightened because when the subway turns, like if it goes around a curvature in the track or something similar to that, it makes this very loud screeching sound. But of course, now I don't, hear that sound anymore because I'm so used to it. But being on the train for the first time and hearing that screeching sound was so loud, I remember, I didn't jump, but I can remember being startled by the sound of that screeching sound and how noisy it was. But it's funny, it did not take me long to get used to the sound of the train. And I really like the sound of the train. And I used to because I lived on Broadway Avenue at the time, and I would catch the train at the Eglinton subway station, and that was always a very busy subway station. So there was always, you know, a lot of people waiting to get on the train. So every time I got on the train, there was never a seat. So I would just sort of wrap myself around. They used to have poles to hold on to. Now poles in the middle of the aisle. They don't exist in the new trains, but they did back then, 30 years ago. And I remember sort of wrapping an arm around a pole and then, you know, cracking open a book, and then, you know, just be totally immersed in my book, rather. And then once we got to Bloor Street, there was a mass exodus because line 2 is at Bloor. So a lot of people would, you know, exit the train, and then I had an opportunity to sit down. And then I rode that train the rest of the way, all the way downtown. But I loved working downtown. I loved being downtown. And we used to do a lot of things after work, particularly on Friday nights. We would, you know, go to some restaurant or some nightclub or something downtown. Always had a good time. And then I would take the subway home. It wouldn't be too late, really, I don't think. I don't ever remember feeling scared or uncomfortable because I would take line 1 home, and there was always people on the platforms, on the subway platforms, waiting for a train. There'd always be a lot of people on the train. And then, of course, my subway stop, there was a lot of people at that Eglinton subway stop. So I always felt safe and comfortable. But coming home late on a Friday night, Saturday night. And I did have a car, but I didn't want to drive a car and maybe, you know, be drinking too much and having to pay for parking. Didn't want to be bothered with all of that. So I took a train. Yeah, so always good memories on the subway train. It always took me to places I wanted to go to. I used to know someone who lived in this apartment building. And actually she lived on the main floor, and she had access to a backyard, fenced in backyard. It was a really nice apartment building. As you can see, there are several here. Well, several, I think there's 3 or 4 large complexes here. And in the summer, just behind these trees, there's a fountain. It's not meant for swimming. I think it's just a fountain. And just where the camera is angling now, that is part of the belt line. And then right beside that, to the north, is main subway. I don't know if you can see it. No, I can't really see, but you can see the belt line, a bit of the belt line. But that's where a lot of the subway station is, Davisville, and that's the headquarters for the TTC, Toronto Transit Commission, and that's where a lot of their trains are maintained, and it's like a major kind of depot, I guess, for the subway trains. Now this whole area here that we're walking on, this is all new, because before there used to be all parking right here. Sorry about that, folks. folks. Oh my goodness. What am I doing? Okay. These little fences were not up. And there's all parking here. This landscape did not exist. None of this, and these, you know, these cedar, you know, they're pine fences, did not exist. These trees did not exist. None of this existed. It was all parking here. I suspect they turned it into this nice this nice walkway, this nice pathway, and, you know, landscaped and put in these beautiful trees. I wonder if it's because they didn't have a lot of tenants that had vehicles. Because living in the city, particularly living in this location, when you're just steps away from the subway, people probably weren't buying cars. There's the main garage there for the tenants. That's the only thing I can think of, is that the parking spots that were once available were no longer required. I know several people who don't own a car. There's really no need. And, you know, to rent a car for a day, it's probably much more economical than owning a car and maintaining it and, you know, changing tires and all that stuff for the winter season and changing them back in the summer season. So that's, again, part of TTC right here. They call it the Davisville Yard. It's the Davisville TTC Yard. So everybody in there would be TTC related. And here, as I mentioned in my previous video, we walked by the Winston Churchill tennis courts, and they were all locked up. But these Oriole Parkway tennis courts are open, so I don't understand why the other ones would be locked up. So across the way there's a baseball diamond, and this little park area here, mostly dogs. In this little playground here, and these washrooms, these are fairly new, less than 10 years old, this playground. And it's always been a playground, but they really updated it and, you know, put in some soft landing flooring here. Let's see if it tells us. Yeah, 2012. So it looks like the playground was, it came, 2012, really, okay. I didn't realize it was quite that long ago, but yeah, I remember the old playground. This is much more sophisticated. And this playground is always busy. I suspect it's because it's such a residential neighborhood. Like, you have the, you know, all those apartment buildings that we just passed. And this is all residential here. All these houses here.
It's a magical.
So folks, this is a good time to just close off this little video. I know it was a really short one, but I thought, why not take you along and see, you know, a little piece of Toronto that I really enjoy walking through. Thanks very much for joining me, and I hope to see you in my next video. Boomer Girl Walking, signing off.